Dealing with liens and subrogation can be some of the most frustrating parts of handling a personal injury case. That's where really the accounting has to be so accurate. We have to understand what the medical bills are, who has filed liens, because lien holders are secured creditors basically into a person's personal injury case and have to be paid. If they're not paid from a settlement or if they're missed, that can create all kinds of problems for the clients later on. So we don't want to actually miss any of the important information of identifying the lien holders in the case. That requires sometimes courthouse searches. They're required by law to send it to us in certified mail. We get those, but some people don't know that there's a lawyer involved. Sometimes a client may not tell us that they're treating with a certain physician, which creates a problem by itself. We need to know who all the physicians are that treat our clients. Subrogation is, in a sense, a legal word for reimbursement. Subrogation exists like when you have two benefits paying at the same time. For example, in Johnny's situation, you have Allstate Farm Insurance that's going to be at some point hopefully making a settlement offer on her case, covering her medical bills. Johnny may have had health insurance at that point also pay for the same medical bill, or there may be some other type of coverage out there like Medicare or Medicaid or something of that nature. We have to be aware of that. We have to understand that if those persons have those relationships with those insurance companies that may be paying, and even if they're not paying, as a lawyer, it's always good for me to check with those people to find out, had they paid? Did they consider paying something? And sometimes they'll throw things at us that's not even related. Part of our job is to go through and explain to those subrogation places that no, they are not related, and to drop that out, and they do not have the right to get reimbursed back. But they have to be taken care of. Unresolved subrogation, unresolved liens create numerous problems, financial hardships for our clients. So we have to be dead certain that we understand who that is. A person that doesn't have a lawyer can really be facing some hard times by ignoring that or misunderstanding how that works.
Stevie Fernandez. I'm here today with our guest Lloyd Benedict. Lloyd, it's great to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Stevie.
Now, Lloyd is a local accident attorney here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he's got 30 years of experience. He's solved thousands of cases throughout his career. Now, before we get talking about it, I want to let everybody know that some of the subject matter that we're going to talk about today and the information that you're using to kind of tell us about cases that have happened, and these cases happened a long time ago, so we're not talking about anybody that anyone would recognize.
Yeah, we don't want to disclose any kind of attorney-client privilege.
So today, Lloyd's going to be talking to us, and you're going to have to help me with this word, subrogation?
That's it. Yeah.
That's some lawyer speak there?
Yeah, that's actually Latin for I don't know what it means, but it's no, subrogation really is a legal term of art that basically means reimbursement, but reimbursement with a little bit more power to it. It's simply put, it's if you have a contract with somebody, and for example, in personal injury cases, it'll be like a health insurance. So if you have some type of health insurance that pays medical bills that are related to a collision, and then you later settle with another insurance company, the at-fault insurance company, and they pay you money, you're kind of getting double paid. Once you got your medical bills paid for by the health insurance, and two, you got your medical bills paid for from maybe the liability carrier on that.
Gotcha.
With health insurance, most of them have a contract that says, if that ever happens, we want our money back. You don't get no double dipping right there. So the term for that, subrogation, comes in, means they get to, if you did nothing, they get to step into your shoes and sue the bad guy if you don't do anything. So see, it's reimbursement with a little bit more power, so they can recover on it. And it can be confusing, and a lot of people don't realize it even exists out there, and it's a very tricky thing. Subrogation exists with health insurance, with Medicare, with Medicaid. So yeah, it can be confusing.
So back up a second. So if I get, my health insurance pays me for something that I have an accident, and then their insurance pays me, I got double dip. Now, is my insurance company going after their insurance for the company for the money back, or to me?
Your health insurance is going after them to get the money back. What they'll do is they'll put them on notice. But ultimately, you're responsible to reimburse back your health insurance. So
okay.
really kind of both.
Okay, so just so I didn't spend it before, it got too far out of hand.
Yeah.
And what about the lien holders? How's that work?
Lien holders, another scary term, another thing that comes into play in personal injury. And lien holders, simply put, when you get into a collision, you'll treat with maybe and it might be an ambulance ride, it might be an emergency room, might be a radiology or a doctor or a chiropractor or a physical therapist. Typically, whatever bills you incur with them, the medical provider may file a lien on your case. And that's kind of scary. A lot of people don't understand what's going on there, but I can explain that. Really, it's a good thing.
Okay.
Really, our legislatures really kind of design the lien to be where people can't afford to get care, can go to a doctor and get care, and then the doctor simply just gets a document, files it at the courthouse, and mails it off to the insurance company. So when the case settles, the doctor's name's going to be on the check. What does that do? Well, it guarantees the doctor to get paid. So it's kind of a secured interest in the settlement. So it's a good thing. A lot of people think, oh, it's against my real estate, or it's, whatever the case may be. They think it's bad. It's not.
Exactly. That's what I thought when you first said that. I thought, that they're going to take my car, or they're going to take, anything I have.
Yeah, no, it's just, and it's not automatic. Not all doctors do it, but when you do see a doctor have those arrangements, it's kind of it's to be interpreted like they're going to be patient. They're going to wait for you to go ahead and try to get your case settled before they do anything. Because if your case never settled and they filed a lien and your case never settled, well, the lien does nothing. It disappears. It goes to court and you lose. There's nothing for that lien attached to it. It's a hypothetical event of a settlement or court award. But if you don't win, you still owe the bill, unfortunately, to the doctors. They're going to have to get paid for their services. But
right.
If it's a good case, an attorney works that case, builds it up to a successful resolution, those medical bills are going to be part of getting the case resolved.
And that's another good reason to have an attorney, because when
Absolutely.
I see subrogation on some note that I get, a letter from somebody, I'm like, what that? Why did they just call me that?
Yeah. Liens also can come in the form of something else other than medical bills, too, in a personal injury case. There's a lot of people don't realize this, but if you owe child support, whether you be the mother or the father and you're behind on child support, the state of Oklahoma routinely looks for cases that are out there. Insurance companies are bound by law to report all cases to the state of Oklahoma, so they double check it. And if they see you owe Medicare, if they see you owe child support on that, then the Child Support Enforcement Agency will place a lien on your settlement proceeds. So you have to pay for that out of any net proceeds that you get from the settlement. So there's another type of lien to be aware of as well. Medicare, Medicaid, they too have liens, and they have that subrogation lien. Theirs is a subrogation and a lien both combined. It's a double whammy on that.
So can the state or the feds put that on there if you owe some taxes too?
Yes, yeah, they can. They do it a little differently. It's kind of like a super lien where there's really no form that goes involved there, but the insurance companies are aware of it, because the insurance companies, if they miss something like that, then they might be liable to have to pay back Uncle Sam for any kind of benefits that either Oklahoma paid or the federal government paid. But generally what happens if that gets messed up, the victim who doesn't reimburse when they settle the case or get a court award that doesn't reimburse Medicare back or Medicaid back, it can mess their benefits up. They can freeze their benefits. So you may settle a case for not realize you had to pay back these places. And then they find out and they say, well, we're sorry, we're not going to pay for your medical now. And you may be ongoing care for a thyroid issue or diabetes. It has nothing to do with the collision. But all of a sudden they freeze your benefits. You're like, what's going on? Well, did you settle a case? Yeah. Did you pay us back? I didn't know I was supposed to. Well, you have to. And we're not going to pay anything on any care that you do from this point out.
And when I get a settlement, do I have to pay taxes on that?
No, you don't. The simple answer is no. And there's some questions as to if it's just focused on lost wages, or might be an issue. But generally, your personal injury cases are not taxable.
Hi everyone, Sarah Benedict here with a question segment, but with a bit of a twist. Alright, this question may be a little trickier. In 2016, who spent more money on lobbying Congress? Was it A, lawyers, or was it B, insurance companies? Find out the answer when we return.
Over 6,337 people are injured in a car crash each day in the United States, and each crash can affect your day-to-day lives from having nothing to drive to severe bodily injury. At Benedict Law Office, we are here to help you through this tragedy and get your life back on track. For over 25 years, Lloyd Benedict has been successfully handling and resolving personal injury cases. If you can't come to the office, we'll meet you, whether it's at your home, office, or by phone. Look us up on our website or call at 918-477-7000.
Earlier, we asked who spent more money on lobbying Congress in 2016. And the answer, which this may or may not surprise you, is B. The insurance industry spent nearly $153 million, which is 10 times more than the legal industry, who spent $15 million. Doesn't take a genius to figure that one out.
All right, well, welcome back to Tulsa Law Talk. Attorney Lloyd Benedict here with us today. All right, most people, they live day to day, paycheck to paycheck. I'm in an accident. I don't even go to the doctor because I know it's going to be like $200 right away to pay for whatever shot or something I might need. How do I pay for the doctor or even get my car fixed so I can go to work or to the doctor when I don't have any money?
It's a good question right there. But first, I should probably just qualify that question by saying that there may be a delay in your mind about going to a doctor because you don't know how it's going to get paid for, that sort of thing. Never let that really be an issue. If you feel like you need to go to a physician for injuries related to a collision, get to that physician. The insurance companies take advantage of that situation where there's a delay on treatment. The longer the delay, the more difficult it is to prove those injuries are caused by the accident. So let me first, like I said, qualify that by saying, get to a physician. Get yourself checked out. If you're part of that walking wounded and you think it's going to go away, that's normal. Some people say, well, let's give it a couple of days, and if the symptoms don't get better, then I'll do it. That's normal. But to let it go on for a long period of time. But the question, how am I going to pay for that? Who's going to fix my car? Those are the things that are first and foremost and that come to people's minds. If you contact a lawyer is going to be able to tell you that there are physicians out there that do that lien-based care out there, and they can give some recommendations or give you any information that you need to help you understand how that works. But you can get treatment for injuries and have whether you have health insurance or no health insurance, whether you have the money to or don't want to pay that money, you just want that other insurance company to pay for it. And remember, in the previous episodes, I talked about you don't have a right for a settlement. No one says that you automatically get your bills paid for. That's all a matter of persuasion. So part of that legal strategy that lawyers do is say, okay, here's what you need on your whole team right now. Not just a lawyer, but you need physicians to care for you. So we can make some recommendations there, or you can pick from anything that you want to. Any doctors, you can go to your primary care physician you want to. Something at least to make sure that your injuries are being addressed. And you say, well, how do I get there? My car's been damaged. They can't drive, or it's not safely drivable, or it's been totaled, or whatever the case may be. We start looking at it from the standpoint of knowing that we can get into it and figure out, okay, well, is it fixable or is it totaled? If it's fixable, then where's a good body shop? Do you have a good body shop? Do I give you a recommendation for a body shop? Or there's going to be some solution there. What about a rental car? What about us contacting the other party's insurance company and see if they'd be willing to go ahead and do a rental car? Sometimes they'll do a direct billing on that. If the liability is relatively clear, in other words, fault for the accident is relatively clear, there may be a couple of days of investigation, or some people may just go ahead and just jump right into a rental car themselves to get reimbursed back later on. There's a solution there somewhere, and there's always a way to be able to get people in transportation, and even if it's calling an Uber to take them out to the doctor's office. And there's even some doctor's offices out there that can help with transportation needs. A few of them, not many, but a few. So there's a solution there somewhere.
Oh, that's a lot of stuff to go through. It's like I always thought that I'm paying for this monthly bill to pay for my insurance in case I'm in an accident or somebody hits me. But you're saying in a lot of cases they're not going to help me through all these steps?
Your own insurance company, and we've talked about this in the past, you have your own insurance company and then you have somebody else's insurance company. Your own insurance company may be able to help you. That might be part of the solutions that we've talked about. Whatever they pay, as long as the case is not, you didn't cause the collision, you're not at fault, they may be able to assist in certain ways. They may be able to assist in getting your car repaired or getting it replaced, and then going after the bad guy's insurance, get reimbursed back. But then you have deductibles to deal with. A lot of people don't want to mess with that. Sometimes I look at it as part of the solution. Sometimes I go aggressively after the third party. Really depends on the case, depends on the facts, that sort of thing. But yes, to answer your question, like, well, I pay all this money. Well, you don't pay the other person's insurance, and he's the one at fault. He's the one that ultimately is going to be paying for all your damages, assuming the case can be shaped and presented and presented to them to where they want to settle rather than go to court.
An attorney's going to help me step by step understand the liens of subrogation.
Not just help you understand it, and that's part of the process, to answer any questions you have, but to protect you from that, to make sure that you understand and to make sure those subrogations are taken care of, those reimbursements are taken care of, those liens are taken care of, and not just taken care of. Sometimes we negotiate. Sometimes part of the process for a successful resolution of the case is to go to Medicare and see if we can get them to take less, or Medicaid, or some of the health insurance subrogations. And in a lot of cases, even sometimes medical bills may be looked at. So it really depends on the case.
And when I know I probably shouldn't always talk about my wife having car accidents, because she's probably listening, and I'm going to get it when I get home.
I've got a business card for your wife right here. And we'll put it as a magnet. We can just put it right in your refrigerator.
Or on the dash somewhere.
There you go.
She was in another accident that involved, this time it was her fault, and she hit somebody, and it was just because the red light had changed, but the guy in front of her didn't go while the cars beside her did. And then she went, would we need an attorney then?
So your wife rear-ended somebody?
Right.
Okay. So when you're the cause of an accident, myself as being a plaintiff lawyer, I'm the person that represents the victims of the collision. So if she was the person that was at fault in it, what she would do then, she would contact her insurance company and give them the details, and that's what they do. That's back to the point of you pay insurance. That's what they do. They protect you for all the risks that you've went out there and collisions you've caused, up to the amount of your limits. So if you have, for example, the state of Oklahoma has 25, 50, 25 insurance, and let's say she has that on there, they will pay up to $25,000 for bodily injuries that your wife may cause, up to $50,000 for a group. That's the aggregate amount for multiple.
Don't say about multiple injuries that she may have caused. Now you're going to get me in worse trouble, but go ahead.
This reminds me, I'm just going to digress a little. This reminds me of, I had a client one time. She was Oriental, and she was sweet as she can be. She had multiple accidents. None of them were her fault. She had 6 accidents within a year and a half, and had came to me for every one of the cases. And she called me because her R and L's were a little off, and she called me Roy. It's better than Royd, I guess, but she called me a Roy, and she says, "Oh, Roy," she came in one day. She called me up. And she said, "Oh, Roy, I need to see you. I have something to talk about." So, okay, well, she goes, "I'm just down the street. I'll show up." She came in the office, and she said, "Oh, Roy, I have bad news." And her hand was on the other side of the table right there, and I said, "Well, what's wrong?" She goes, "I got cancer." And I patted on her hand. I said, "You're a tough lady. You'll be able to get through this. Don't worry about it. If there's anything I can do to help out, just let me know." And she tilted her head and was kind of like, she didn't understand, like, "Oh," and she got up and left. She called me back about 5 minutes. She got in the parking lot, and she called me back because she knew I didn't understand. She goes, "Oh, Roy, I think you don't understand. I got canceled by my insurance company." I'm like, "I knew that. That's pretty tragic. I knew that you're talking about."
Right. You'll get through that. That's why I like you, Lloyd, because like when we talked about earlier about my wife, some attorneys might just charge me $100 just to ask that question, and
Well, I have sent you a bill already in the mail. My paralegals listen to this show all the time, and we're billing by the minute.
When we come back, we're going to take a break now, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the cases that have resulted for some of your clients when we come back right here on Tulsa Law Talk.
Thank you. Hey, sis.
Hey.
How are you?
Fine. So what are you listening to?
That Lawyer Lloyd podcast that you suggested is very helpful. I've almost listened to all the segments. I have one more to go, so thank you for that information.
Hey.
Yeah, it's been very helpful.
I'm glad that podcast is getting through.
Helpful, yeah. It's teaching me a lot of things that I need to know that I didn't know, so I appreciate the advice. Great idea.
Well, I'm gonna head on back to work, but I'm glad you like that.
I do. Thank you very much.
I will see you next time.
Don't work too hard. I love you.
If not, if I can get out of it.
Okay. See you later. Bye.
All right, as always, we're so happy to have everyone here with us for Tulsa Law Talk. Our guest today is Lloyd Benedict. He's the owner of Benedict Law Office. Now, earlier we've talked about all the necessities in why having an attorney is important. We talked about subrogation, we talked about liens, we talked about all those things. Give us more specific examples of cases you've worked on that this has been an important win for your client.
Sure, Stevie. One thing I need to say is that it's not all that uncommon to have these issues come up as far as overwhelming problems with subrogation or liens or those things that come into play, these extra things that no one ever thinks about or has ever heard about, and the complications come from it. But there are some cases that stick out. One such case I can recall was there was a gentleman who was hit in a vehicle, had some pretty severe injuries. The defendant that hit him only had $25,000 in coverage. That's Oklahoma state minimum. He had in medical liens $120,000 in medical liens. Mm-hmm. He had, the health insurance had paid some of the medical liens. He had about $20,000 in reimbursement subrogation back to his health insurer. He also had a child support lien. I didn't know that this stuff could even go this high, but for $85,000.
Oh, wow.
So everybody and their dog was wanting a piece of the pie right there, but there's only $25,000. So how do you, it's like my granddaddy used to say, how do you put 20 gallons of mud in a 10-gallon pail? And so we had to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? Well, there's a legal mechanism out there called an interpleader, and an interpleader is a court hearing that I file an action and file it to the court, where I ask the judge, say, Judge, there's only 10 gallons of mud here, how are we going to do this? And the judge will look at it from a pro rata basis and get everyone to get paid pro rata out of, you take the fees and the expenses out of it, and whatever's left over goes to the medical providers. Well, I didn't want my client to be in debt for the rest of his life. Now, he can't get out of the child support thing. That's an ongoing thing. They're just going to take whatever he owes and put that to a credit, and he still owes that money. Couldn't get out of that. But how do we manage the rest of it? Well, I told everybody, I said, he can file bankruptcy and eliminate that stuff. Right. We don't have to do this hearing. We could just do bankruptcy. Now, if you guys be willing to take the pro rata amount, take it as full and final, and move on down the road. Of course, he still has a child support deal, and they did. They agreed to it. We went to court. We apportioned it out, and so the win in his case was I couldn't put any money in his pocket, but there was tens of thousands of medical dollars in liens and subrogation that was wiped out by agreement, and that's just part of what we do as lawyers, to look for other solutions in cases.
That is a big win, because you don't think about that, because you think that you got this little bit of money coming, but then he would have still owed, like you said, tens of thousands more, and nobody there to help him.
Exactly.
Now, we talked about it a little bit. I kind of somehow got and now I'm going to have to buy roses for my wife, because we talked about a couple of her accidents throughout the show. But we haven't talked about your wife yet.
Have I sued your wife by chance?
No,
I apologize if I have. I mean, you want to ask. Tulsa's a small town. You got to ask that before you get engaged in conversation. Sarah, my beautiful wife, Sarah, she is my partner in crime. She's a non-lawyer, but she is a paralegal. She had been handling Social Security in my office for 3 years, a little over 3 years, and then we kind of rearranged her responsibilities. She assists me more on the administrative side. She's really my built-in focus group. She's my objectivity that I go to. She puts me on track and gives me full center. When I need something, I can bounce ideas off of her, and I get that layperson perspective. She's got some legal background, obviously, but she gives me that lay perspective. She knows how to read people. She can tell if anyone's lying. I dare not lie to her. She would slap me upside the head, because she can just see it in my eyes, or the curl of my mouth, or a hair curling on the side of my head. I don't know what it is. She's got this innate ability to be able to read people, and that's valuable. It's a valuable tool in my business, because I have to know what I'm dealing with, and attorneys, we talked about objectivity as clients.
Right.
Attorneys sometimes need to have some objectivity too in handling the case, and she brings me back to that full center. That's where I tell everybody that she's really my focus group. She looks at things that I might be missing.
That's good. See, because the way you said that, I could tell how much you really love this woman. And I want to say how much I really love my wife too, because we talked about her. It's going to get me in a little bit of trouble when I get home, but
Well, and I absolutely love her, and her being a partner in my life is just, I can't ask for better.
so how can we use this word subrogation in any other way? You know, can I use that when I go buy dinner or coffee or?
I think you can if you really want to impress your wife.
Yeah.
And tell her that your anniversary is coming up and you've been thinking about maybe some wine, a good steak, and some subrogation. That might get you a slap, though.
It does sound a little dirty. We better show that for another show. So thanks, Lloyd, for being here with us for Tulsa Law Talk. And just to remind everyone, we're going to continue to have Lloyd as our guest throughout the coming shows because he can tell us more about accidents, how important it is to have proper representation. I'm your host, Stevie Fernandez, and thanks again for listening and being with us here too, Lloyd, for Tulsa Law Talk.